Buenos dias, guys! From Chiapas, from Tuxtla Gutierrez to be precise, the capital of the state of Chiapas, Mexico's most southern, poorest, cheapest and most indigenous state. And I've arrived here yesterday night, quite late, and I've only got a day here basically. Most people that come to Chiapas, to the state of Chiapas, only land in Tuxtla and then straight off go to other places in this very interesting and very authentic state of Mexico. And yes, I've only got a day here in Tuxtla. I've decided to spend the night here, actually to check out the capital of it. And yeah, there's not a lot to do here, which is why most people only don't even spend the night here. But still, I've got a day here. My first day in Chiapas, first time ever here. This is a part of Mexico I've never visited before. And so yeah, let's check out Tuxtla today. And there's a very interesting place here, not far away. One of the most beautiful places, they say, in Mexico, and one of the prettiest in Chiapas. So let's check it out, guys. And we need to get the colectivo to get there. So, vamos! Y viva Cruz Azul! I'm wearing my free Cruz Azul shirt today. Shout out to the ultras of Cruz Azul watching. Viva Cruz Azul! The state of Chiapas is a very authentic and mysterious place here in Mexico, much different to the rest of the country. And the state is also characterized by a large diversity in regards to nature and climate. As such, Chiapas, the town which we're in right now, the city of Tuxtla, has tropical climate. It's close to the coast. We're not at the coast, but like less than an hour's drive away from the coast. So it's got subtropical climate here. Pretty much the same as down on the coast. Then you've got the mountains, which are up there at the highest points of Mexico, and towns such as San Cristobal, which is the most famous one. And then you've got the jungle, the rainforest. And whilst here, on the one side of Chiapas, in Tuxtla, it barely ever rains. Really, it rarely rains. On the other side of the state, in Palenque, which is in the rainforest, it rains a lot because it's jungle, rainforest weather. Check out this place, guys. The University of Com. Pretty interesting. Com. Somos tu mejor opción. Come, we are your best option. And the state of Chiapas, guys, has the biggest, and always had the biggest indigenous population of Mexico. And as such, in the 90s, officially on the 3rd of January 1994, the state was plunged into a separatist war by the Zapatista movement. The Zapatista movement was a paramilitary movement which existed officially up until recently, which was fighting for the rights and liberation of the indigenous people from the state of Mexico, and actually intended to separate this part of Mexico from the rest. And on the 3rd of January 1994, after the NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, was signed, they started an offensive in the state of Chiapas. And it lasted for 12 days. It was an armed conflict that only lasted 12 days. And after these 12 days, they were officially at war. They remained officially at war with the Mexican government up until quite recently, up until November 2023. when the group was officially announced its dissolution officially, and the state of Chiapas had been controlled and influenced over the past few years by the Zapatista movement, but traditionally the city of Tuxtla, which we are in right now, had always been more pro-Mexican, because the Zapatista movement was more successful in the rural areas of Chiapas, in the mountains and in the jungle. Here in Tuxtla, which is the economical and commercial hub of Chiapas, of the state of Chiapas, and its biggest city, the people had always been more pro-Mexico and more pro-government, I should say. Many of the indigenous population of Tuxtla had to leave the city, and they were forced to move to the more rural areas, which is why you won't find many more indigenous people here in the city of Tuxtla. They have all moved to the rural parts of Chiapas, which is where we are headed from tomorrow. And in 1998, a Zapatista politician, a politician that was a Zapatista activist here in Chiapas, was murdered here in Tuxtla in response to him acting up for the indigenous people in the rural areas, speaking up for them and giving some land back to them. The state had also been declared super unsafe and as one of Mexico's most dangerous during the 90s and early 2000s. But that changed due to agreements between the Zapatista movement and the Mexican government. This is one of the famous Mexican colectivos here in Tuxtla. Right guys, check it out. We've made it to Chiapas de Corzo, a small town here, east of Tuxtla. And from here, we're going to take a lunch at a boat to a very, very beautiful place. One of the prettiest of Chiapas and of Mexico, they say. Which is the main reason for me to come to this place. Chiapas de Corzo is one of Mexico's famous magical towns, Pueblo Mágicos. It's colorful, indigenous and colonial mixed towns in the rural areas of the country. Chiapas is renowned to be one of Mexico's most prettiest states. Not only its poorest and its most rebellious and its most indigenous, it's also one of its prettiest, with one of the prettiest landscapes on offer and the most diverse. And check out how beautiful it is. Looks like nothing I have seen in Mexico before. I've not been all over Mexico yet, but I've been to some places. In terms of security, the political unrest of the 90s and beginning of 2000s caused by the liberating movement and separatist movement of the Zapatistas against the Mexican government has calmed down. It has practically disappeared. In that regard, yeah, it is pretty safe as any other state in Mexico. However, at the moment, as this state, Chiapas, is bordering Guatemala, it is the final state between Mexico and Guatemala, and thus a clinical entry point for migrants coming from South America into Mexico via Guatemala, and also obviously people from Guatemala entering into Mexico, and also a clinical point for goods getting out of Mexico into Guatemala and down to South America. Currently, the narcos of the Guadalajara or Jalisco cartel and the infamous Sinaloa cartel are fighting it out for control of this region, for control of the Guatemala border. But apart from that, we should be safe here. In the West, and especially in Europe, we often tend to forget that Mexico is a huge country, or how massive Mexico actually is. When we think of the United States, we tend to think only of the US, obviously, the US of A. But Mexico is officially also called Los Estados Unidos de México, the United States of Mexico. Mexico is composed of 32 states, which is massive. Some of them bigger than some countries in Europe. Chiapas, for instance, the state of Chiapas, is nearly as big as Portugal. So in Europe, this would already be a big country. These waters have crocodiles inside them. Wild Chiapas crocodile, guys. Right guys, I'm back in the center of Tuxtla, heading back to my hostel, going to collect my laundry, have dinner, and then go to sleep because tomorrow I'll need to get up early and head to the next destination here in Chiapas. We've got a whopping journey ahead of us over the next few days, and tomorrow starts part 2 of that journey. In regards to the boat tour, in regards to the canyon, I didn't vlog a lot, I didn't film a lot because, yeah, basically it wasn't as I expected. As you maybe know, I hate guided tours, but sometimes it's inevitable. I mean, to see that canyon, it's inevitable to go there by boat, because especially if you're only there here for a day, as I am, it's inevitable to go there by boat with a guide. And I basically asked the guide, well, I paid like $10, and I asked the guide to be alone on the boat so that I could film. And he said yes, but either he misunderstood me or he just didn't give a fuck about what I had said to him. And so I ended up on the boat with 10 or more, like 12 other tourists, also some gringos, and yeah, I wasn't in the right mood to film. I've got some footage though, which you probably have seen at this point. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow when we head to the former stronghold of the Zapatistas up in the mountains of Chiapas, one of the highest cities and one of the most indigenous cities of Mexico, San Cristobal. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Adios. Good morning guys, it's the next day here in Tuxtla Gutierrez. I'm at the bus station and we're about to leave. We're about to leave warm Tuxtla and head up into the mountains to a bit colder San Cristobal, which used to be a Zapatista hotspot, a Zapatista stronghold. Nowadays, this morning when I had breakfast at the market here in Tuxtla, I got told that I should watch out, that it's dangerous at the moment because the narcos, the cartels of both Jalisco and Sinaloa, probably the strongest and most dangerous cartels of the country, the most powerful, are currently fighting it out not only in the jungle of Chiapas, but also in the mountains, fighting it out for land to control the border region between Mexico and Guatemala. So at the moment we'll have to watch out, but I think if you don't mess with the cartel, you're right. So let's check out San Cristobal. Vamos! Goodbye Tuxtla. See you in the future. Maybe. Right guys, half an hour late. we're off to San Cristobal, and it's a decent bus, check it out. It's not a long bus ride, it's only an hour, so yeah, but it's alright. It cost me about €3, so $3.50 or something, so alright. Mexican buses are much better than Peruvian buses. Loads of military presence here on the roads, on the rural roads of Chiapas, which is due to the current threat caused by the narco war, the narco dispute between Mexico's two biggest cartels at the moment, fighting it out for control over this region. We're heading high up the mountains here, high up the Chiapas mountains, up to San Cristobal, which lies at an altitude of 2,000 meters, making it one of the highest cities in Mexico. And it's already starting to look a lot different in regards to Tuxtla, innit? Check it out. Back down in Tuxtla it was super sunny and warm, but right now, already in the bus it's super cold. And look how grey it is. So yeah, different world. Chiapas, one of the most diverse states in Mexico. This is right, guys, welcome to San Cristobal. We've made it. It was only about an hour down from Tuxtla, well, up from Tuxtla to get here, but it feels like a different world. It feels like we've just changed continents, countries. Like the climate has completely changed. It was super hot this morning. Alright, I've been told off to film, so see you guys soon. Right, guys, what a start here to San Cristobal. What a start. Arriving, literally getting out of the bus and immediately told off to film. But yeah, what was I about to say? It's super cold here. It was super hot down in Tuxtla. It was sweating hot. I was sweating all of the time, but here feels like at least 10 degrees colder, actually more. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. I'm now gonna go to my hostel, check in, drop my bag, and then yeah, let's check out the city. See you guys later. Right, guys, check it out. We've made it to grey San Cristobal de las Casas, the ancient capital of Chiapas. It used to be the capital of Chiapas until 1892, when Tuxtla replaced it as the capital. And during the Zapatista years, the Zapatista movement, the Zapatista uprising of the 90s and early 2000s, this city here used to be a stronghold for the Zapatista movement, because they got quite a lot of support here for one particular reason. This city and this region of Chiapas, the more rural, mountainous region of Chiapas, has always been home to a more indigenous population. Most of Chiapas's indigenous population lives here in San Cristobal de las Casas and its surrounding villages and towns. Hence why the Zapatistas, who defended the rights of the indigenous people and their traditions, and was also fighting for their autonomy and independence from the Mexican state, yeah, they gathered quite a lot of support here. And it used to be the Zapatista stronghold, San Cristobal, one of many, but its most famous one. Check out the streets, the beautiful, authentic streets of San Cristobal, which the city is famous for. I'm now heading towards a kind of market, which I got recommended back at my hostel when I dropped my bags, and yeah, I'm now going for some cheap food, This place is also renowned to be Mexico's cheapest city, one of Mexico's cheapest cities. Gracias, señor. This morning, when I was having a coffee at the market in Tuxtla, a lady from Chiapas that lived all of her life here told me about the 90s, about the Zapatista uprising and everything. And she told me that actually the Zapatista movement did a lot of good things to this region of Mexico, to Chiapas, and to the indigenous people, because they made people aware in the other regions of Mexico of the injustices that the indigenous people went through. And yeah, the indigenous people here in Chiapas earned a lot of autonomy. And as always, a good friend, Oxo. And right next to it is a market, where I was told that I could find some food. Some delicious, cheap Chiapas food. Right guys, today here in San Cristobal I went for another very interesting Mexican meal. Check it out. Chicken in mole sauce. Now, mole sauce is a very famous meal here in Mexico, which is super unknown back in the West, especially in Europe. In Europe, we only use cocoa to make chocolates, and sweets, and for desserts, But here in Mexico, they use cocoa to make the mole sauce. So yeah, this is my meal for today. Chicken in cocoa sauce. And it's not sweet. It's not sweet because, cocoa isn't sweet, naturally, the cocoa bean. And yeah, it looks like a dessert by Super Rico. And yeah, I'm now gonna tug into that. I'm gonna try the sauce for you guys. Let's get some chicken here. Try the sauce. Let's give it a try. Look at it, how desserty it looks. Well, it's a lunch. Typical Mexican meal. So yeah, let's tuck in. Super rico. Muy rico. Really nice. And you go all of that with fresh tortillas and rice. So I'll enjoy my meal now. It's a bit less spicy obviously, but still spicier than sweet. So when you come to Mexico, you should absolutely try mole. Super nice. I'll see you guys later. Right guys, I'm now here in the center of San Cristobal after my lunch, and I've just found out that the people here are speaking a Mayan dialect. The guy right next to me, the man next to me, they are speaking a Mayan dialect. ¿Puedes hablar un poquito en tu lengua?
De Chol.
The Chol. Chol it is called.
Yo Chile ki Tumbala. Sumulo ki Tumbala, ya Chile o po Chile ki Kele de San Cristóbal de las Casas ahí en Chiapas. Y ya un sumulo lo en Chiapas, pues voy a echar a visitar la ciudad de San Cristóbal. Ya voy a la challenge, pues tenía los músicas a él como choleros y Tumbala.
Wow, gracias. Ese fue Chol.
Ese es Chol.
Wow.
Yeah.
¿Qué dice?
Mande.
¿Qué dice?
¿Qué dijo usted? Que él está bien contento que esté acá en San Cristóbal. Como somos de acá por Tumbalá.
Okay.
Tumbalá estamos nosotros un paseo acá de San Cristóbal, una visita, ya que la distancia es acá de 3 a 4 horas hasta donde vivimos nosotros. Y el amigo pues dice que está contento para que visite San Cristóbal por primera o segunda vez o última vez, no sé. Pero dice que él está feliz de estar acá en San Cristóbal, bien fresco, dice.
Wow.
Así es, amigo.
Bueno, no entiende nada.
¿No? ¿Verdad?
¿Y cómo dice en Chol? Unas palabras en Chol. ¿Cómo se dice hola, buenos días en Chol? Wense an. Y gracias.
Woko Shawele.
Woko Shawele. Woco Shawele. Wow, es muy antigua esta lengua.
Es muy antigua.
Wow.
Sí.
¿Y cómo se dice? Me gusta esta chica.
Mikmulan inichop.
Migmulan en Chok. Hace 2000 años, una persona maya o chol,
Creo.
se puede hablar chol con un romano. Eso es como el romano que hablan los romanos, el latino que hablan los romanos. Y es tan viejo que el latino de los romanos.
Sí, eso también. Qué bueno que estamos acá.
Sí.
Comunicando de acá, desde allá.
Sí, a mí me fascinando eso, que esas lenguas antiguas sobreviven. Sí. Acá en Chiapas, 40 dialectos, wow. Eso es muy impresionante.
Es muy impresionante.
Y de hablar una lengua como eso es muy chingón.
Sí, para nosotros sí.
Woco Shaule, hermanos, señores, por esa explicación.
Así es, Machunchale o Shaulhae.
Okay. Wow. It's pretty stunning, guys. He's just told me that in Chiapas, well, basically over 40 ancient Mayan dialects still exist, spread all over Chiapas, and mostly, of course, in the rural areas. You won't find these in the urban areas, in the cities like Tuxtla, where we just came from. And it's just fascinating because you've got to imagine that these languages, these dialects that these people are speaking, it's their mother tongue. Their parents actually don't speak Spanish, he's just told me. They only speak their language, their Mayan dialects, and it's pretty fascinating because you've got to imagine that this language has lasted, it's over 2,000 years old, and it has survived. It has survived the Hispanic colonization, which is pretty amazing. So if you consider that this language is over 2,000 years old, you could go back in time 2,000 years, and the people that were living here would still be speaking the same language as these guys are speaking between themselves. And if you go to Europe 2,000 years ago, the Roman, for example, the Latin that the Romans were speaking 2,000 years ago at that time, well, that's you might just read it in the Vatican or somewhere, but it's basically that no one speaks it. No one has been speaking it for over 1,000 years now. But here, the Mayan languages and the indigenous languages, not only the Mayan, but the indigenous languages have survived, which is pretty stunning. Right, guys, I reckon this is a great place, a great spot to end this first video here in Chiapas. To end my first 2 days in this very interesting and magnificent state of Mexico. I'm pretty shattered, I need a nap. I haven't slept a lot these past 2 days. Arrived late 2 days ago in Tuxtla, very late. Then woke up early, didn't sleep a lot yesterday, didn't get a lot of sleep in Tuxtla. And now I'm a bit shattered from the bus ride and I need a nap. And I reckon it's a great time to end the video. And yeah, so far after a few hours, I really like San Cristobal. It seems like the most authentic place I've been to in Mexico so far. So, I'll see you guys tomorrow when we'll explore more of this incredible place, this magical place and very interesting place that is San Cristobal. Adios amigos, hasta luego. Guys, check this out. The Mayas were turning their grave, check it out. They've been commercialized. The imperialist Burger King in an old Maya building. Wowzers.